Don't you love recording unboxing videos where you can't possibly redo them and then figuring out that you left the microphone off halfway through? Me neither, but unfortunately we have to live with the consequences of our mediocrity. So this is the BuzzBee Air Warriors Tactical Storm, a new blaster in their 2017 line that, well, I won't forgive you from thinking looks freaking sweet. I mean, look at this thing. It is super duper awesome, and if we just dump that and just ignore that right now. Looking at the back of the box, we've got our instructions here. We've got the blaster itself fully assembled, as you see right here. It does not come fully assembled. I will have a speedy unboxing thing that you can watch here in a moment. And two 10-dart clips with 20 of their long-distance darts. And I say that with sarcastic air quotes because so far these darts have not been very good. In fact, I actually prefer their older style of dart, which, well, they still say they make the suction darts and the long-distance darts, the precise pro darts, which are far better but far more expensive, but you get what I'm saying. And the back of the box does advertise 100-foot range claims, which is pretty impressive, and it shows off the Barbarian, which we've reviewed, the Monorail, which we've reviewed, and the Predator, which we've technically reviewed because this is just a repaint of the Predator that came out last year with different darts and, well, a cool little barrel attachment thing that lets you put the scope on, well, let's say non-BuzzBee blasters. And that's it for the box. Let me have those. And yes, this blaster does look freaking cool. The stock is detachable. It's like maybe 4 inches long. Although the design of the blaster itself gives you a little more on there. And the grip is actually comfortable. I know, surprising. Again, I have baby hands, but this is nice. I like this a lot. And the blaster itself looks really cool. I love this barrel, which is, of course, completely removable. It just threads on and off, and it looks like the cross between a actual, you know, shrouded barrel and then a suppressor of some sort. And it's a top prime blaster, similar to what we found in the Champion from last year. A breech-loaded system that you just, you know, put some darts in here and just do this. And there we go. That one's a little messed up. I'm sure it will fire, and then put that back in here, close the breech, and then we could fire a dart out of it. Or another. It's very cool. I happen to really dig this blaster so far. I haven't actually gotten to range test or anything, but it is really freaking cool. And I have another blaster that's very, very similar to this one. It's the BuzzBee The Walking Dead Dwight's Crossbow, which I will, again, have a little speedy opening up thing so you can see what it looks like in the actual box. And this one comes with 2 10-dart clips, the blaster itself with the tiny grip removed, and then, yeah, the 20 darts, and it advertises 100-foot range claims, and it's all covered in the Walking Dead comic stuff. Well, very, very similar to the thing we just looked at. Instructions right here. It shows off the Walking Dead Abrams M16, Andrea's rifle, and Rick's shotgun, which I actually do have. And I've never watched The Walking Dead, so I don't know of any of this stuff. I do find it hilarious that this is The Walking Dead, but for ages 6 and up, and BuzzBee made an entire line out of it, which, you know, that kind of counter the whole tiny grips that are freaking unusable. I can't even fit my thumb in there. It's not possible. And it's obviously somebody in the comments is not going to understand and go, it's meant for kids! And to which I say, no, The Walking Dead is not meant for kids. You're ridiculous if you think that. So, yeah, that's funny. And then, of course, yeah, the scope does still come off if you want to. It's the same scope that comes on the Predator. And I do like myself some scoped crossbows, but let's not pretend for a moment this is actually a crossbow, because it's actually incredibly similar, if not the same thing, to the Tactical Storm, and then again, the Champion and whatnot. But, well, if we pull that back forward, it shoots darts. I'm already seeing a problem with that scope being there. I can't really... Let's just do that. There we go. I wish it had an auto return of some kind, because it's just like, again, same thing. You have to, like, pull that back and then push it back forward. The actual bolt strings don't do anything. It's entirely cosmetic, and they're on the blaster out of the box, which is interesting. This thing would actually look pretty darn spiffy without the bow arms on it, but I guess you're buying it for the bow arms, so I don't know. You are buying a crossbow, but it's one of those mythical clip or magazine-fed crossbows. I know somebody in the comments is going to freak out, learn the difference between a clip and a magazine, and then you'd see that they clearly says clip. Clip. Deal with it, nerd. Nobody cares. Let's go range test these things. All right, range test time, or, well, really firing demo. It's not really range test, I'm not measuring any of this kind of stuff. But first, we have to do the cross-compatibility check. Does it take a standard Nerf magazine? And, well, yeah, it looks like it actually does. Interesting. Doesn't really feel like it should go all the way in there. It's a little crazy. Let's see if it will actually chamber a dart. I'm going to test that, since that seems to be a good idea at this junction. There we go. And wow, that thing flew pretty good. It had a heavy angle on it, but that flew pretty good. All right. Well, let's test it with the actual magazine now and see how these darts perform. Straight into the ground, pretty decent. Ooh, this one has some pop to it. Oh my god, that dart just curved at a 90-degree angle and flew into the trees. Huh. This has some pop to it. It actually might have too much pop. It seems like it's overpowering the dart. There's absolutely no breeze going on, so interesting. Very interesting. So not only does it seem to hit pretty decently, but it looks cool and it's comfortable while doing it. So far, I really like the Tactical Storm, but let's see what the Crossbow's got for us. All right, Crossbow time. Let's see if we can... Wow, yeah, I guess that's already in there. Again, very, very flimsy. However, holy crap, holy, that seemed to have even more pop to it. Well, that one works. Let's use the actual magazine, so you can, in fact, with both of them, use standard Nerf magazines. There's really not much magazine well here. It's very, very limited. And straight into the ground. That one sailed forever. That one sailed even more forever. That one sailed even better. That one caught an updraft or something like that. It went even farther. Wow. Ooh. That's actually really impressive, although inaccurate as all can be. Alright, and we're out. I do like being able to flick out magazines without even having to try. Well, both of these blasters are very similar. It almost seems like this one is popping even harder, though. Let's put these over the chronograph, and I'll give you my final conclusion. Yeah, one of these is definitely longer. Unsurprisingly, these things both chrony at about the same velocities. It does seem like the Crossbow kicked a little bit harder, but, I mean, really, my sample sizes aren't super big enough to conclude that one of them may have been, like, 2 or 3 FPS higher than the other one, and I don't really think it matters that much. They were both incredibly similar, and if these things are almost identical in the way they prime and the draw and all that kind of thing, I would not be surprised if they are almost identical inside, and they do work pretty darn well. They did have kind of some low ones in there, but it did have some higher ones as well, which matched well into the 90s for, well, this one, and, well, this one was more in the high 80s, low 90s, high 80s, kind of the same thing, really, but they did perform admirably, and that's actually awesome considering this one has this massive faux barrel on the end of it, and this one has virtually nothing, and that probably has something to do with why this one kicked just a tad bit harder across the chronograph, but there were some low shots in there as well. It seemed a little inconsistent. I'm not sure exactly why. However, they both performed, again, about the same. And then, well, we should probably talk about performance and price, and, well, we just talked about performance, so let's talk about price. This one is $20 at Target, and I couldn't find it anywhere else. This one you can find for $22 at Target, or $17 at Kmart. At whatever one is nearest to you, you can figure out which one of those works for you. Honestly, when it comes to, like, my personal preference, I obviously like the Tactical Storm because it just feels a heck of a lot better to hold, a lot better to shoulder, just looks cooler. Yeah, there's a reason why I happen to like this one a lot more than this thing, and it doesn't help that I'm not exactly a Walking Dead fan, so I can't really use my bias towards Walking Dead to choose this one over this one, even though technically this one's a little bit cheaper. And there is something I like about this one, is that the magazine well is almost non-existent. I mean, there's really nothing there. It's very, very close together. It's very easy to drop the magazine out of it, while this one is a little bit more difficult, not a whole lot more, There is slightly more material around it, but both of them do work with the standard N-Strike magazine, so not much of a deal breaker there. There, I'll drop that one too, just so they both feel ashamed of themselves. Let's talk about the fun value. So for both of these things, they both have quite a few attachments, but they're pretty typical in how they work. There's nothing super special awesome that makes these different than any other way. I will give the edge towards the Tactical Storm because it does have that ridiculously long barrel, which you can remove, and a stock, which you can remove, while this only comes with a scope. It is a pretty cool scope, but it's just a scope. It doesn't magnify, it doesn't do anything, it's just got two lenses, plastic on it, and it distorts your vision, and it doesn't work all that well. And I guess it has the bow arm function, which some people may really like, but it's not like anything besides the string barely moves. I mean, you can see when I prime it down, it tensions the spring about that much, and then when you pull it, there, well, push it back forward and pull the trigger, the string barely moves forward. It doesn't do anything cool enough to warrant even having the bow arms on it. Really, it's just a clone of this blaster, or the Champion in this case, which really doesn't make this worth anything super cool. While this one has, of course, the stock that is removable, the barrel, and it looks way cooler in my opinion, so I think this one's actually really fun, but even then, both of them are kind of the same thing. When it comes to a competitive side, though, both of them perform pretty admirably. In fact, very admirably if they can hit regularly into the high 80s and low 90s, which makes these things pretty competitive out of the box, and them being springers means it can probably take some kind of spring upgrade and stuff to bring it up to a, you know, higher FPS value to make it a little more competitive, and then of course brass breeches and everything of the like, and they're magazine fed, which makes them very quick to reload if you have the spare magazines, and these ones come with 2, so that's really cool. It's a complete package if you wanted to pick one of these up because you happen to like the look of the blaster and you wanted something that was somewhat competitive. Neither of these is really going to lead you in the wrong direction with that, so there's a lot to love here. Do I recommend you go pick one of these up immediately? That's kind of a mixed bag because they are very similar to blasters we've had in the past. Again, top prime magazine-fed blasters, BuzzBee has been doing a large varieties. These aren't even the only 2 in the set, in my opinion. I think there's actually more BuzzBee blasters that are coming out that have this same priming method. I mean, we do have things like the Thermal Hunter and the Interceptor, and which are, you know, front prime pump action, but again, very, very similar blasters. And then, of course, we had the Reaper and the Champion, and you can see how this can get kind of confusing. There are so many blasters that work in this exact way, it's kind of a blur between both of them, or all of them. But I do happen to really like the Tactical Storm. It looks cool, it functions well, and I can recommend it. And if you happen to be a huge fan of Dwight and his crossbow, not that I know either of those things, his crossbow specifically, not a crossbow in general, then you can totally pick this one up. I mean, it's kind of up to you, but I definitely think I perform the Tactical Storm. But let me know which one of these is your favorite down in the comment section below, because I'm surely got it wrong, and clearly Dwight is the best person ever. I mean, he was funny in the Office. I got nothing. I've never seen The Walking Dead. Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, I'm Walcom S7. Thank you very much for watching this video. Of course, I hope to see you in an entirely different one. I'm sticking with it. I really like this blaster.